Nobody likes cold wipers.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tesla Life number 235. Here we are on the 5th of January in a brand new year, 2022. Welcome to the show, everybody. And if you haven't noticed, Patrick has already figured out how to start the show before the show actually starts. He is a master, let me tell you. He is a master. And speaking of that master, Patrick Connor joins us from the West Coast. How are you today, sir?
Hello, I am good. Hey, everybody out there in Tesla Nation, I have some news. Guess what? I got FSD beta. Yeah!
Woo!
Sorry,
Congrats.
Mark, you're the only one on the show without it now. But it is so cool. I hopped in the car, I put in a destination, go, it pulls to the end of the block, there's a stop sign. It stops at the stop sign. There's a car coming. You can see that it sees the car on the screen. It waits for it to pass. It makes a left turn. I was just like, this is magic. This is awesome. It was so exciting. It was very cool. There was a couple little things like it went through a yellow light that I probably would have stopped, but and I was ready with the brake if I needed to. But
did it speed up for the yellow, or did it just cruise on through? I've had to do both.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So, in fact, I hit the accelerator a little bit because I was like, if you're going to go through, you got to speed up. And then I got this forward collision warning for the car in front of me. You're the one that put me in this spot. But again, I didn't think it was dangerously close or anything, or I would have taken over. It's a lot of fun. I'm going to be tooling around with it now. It's great. Very exciting.
Excellent.
Definitely.
Also joining us is the original FSD guy, Mr. Casey Green from the DC area. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing all right. I will say that it's not as bad in the snow as people have made it out to be, but you do have to be really smart about where you let it go, because it's not all that great on the dry. So take away the friction and see what happens.
Casey, did I not see a tweet from you today about people sliding off the roads even though they were plowed in your area?
Yes.
I was going to reply back, but I didn't. But here's the answer for you. It's summer tires in the winter. That's the problem.
Or they like skipped it. Somehow it was past inspection, and they just we'll get it later. And no. One guy was backwards across. I was looking out the window above my stairs. He was backwards in the ditch. I'm like, how? At least everybody else went nose in. It's like, oh, you must not have been paying enough attention or something. But
they nose in, bounce off the curb, and back into traffic. I ask the viewers out there to look up Montreal buses in snow. That is a scary situation.
Is it anything like the Seattle buses in snow?
It's similar, yes. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Like dancing buses as they go down the street, bouncing off parked cars and avoiding pedestrians. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Wow. So I'm seeing 3 people in the chat before it even started. We've got some guy named Hockey Day, David, and this Casey Green character.
Cool. Hey, if it's snowing out there, slow down, be safe, and try not to park on the street or you might get sideswiped by a bus.
Yeah.
Indeed. And as Hockey Day mentioned, somehow it didn't make it into where it showed on the screen. I guess that was too early. We're under a winter watch warning again.
Oh, yeah. So, I don't know, we're all in different areas, but the storm watch mode for the power walls has just been going off and on like crazy around here. There was a snow warning, there was a wind warning, and right now there's a flood warning. So
nice.
Yeah. So, like 5 of the last 10 days, I've been in a storm watch mode. But that's awesome. We haven't lost power, and if we did, I know the power walls are there to take over, so it's all good.
So I had an over 5-hour outage here. Yeah. The Powerwall's been doing great at Dad's house, but...
Oh, you don't have a Powerwall in your house?
No, I sent it down to Dad's house because I was going to be another year here, and I wasn't sure how long you could leave it unplugged without it killing itself.
The Powerwall doesn't work all that well when it's in its own box.
That too. So only somebody can use it.
May as well get some use out of it. Absolutely.
So around the corner from me, we had several tractor trailer crashes, and it led to over 19 hours in the car for a politician and several other people. And the news report, there was a lady focused on, that there were no bathrooms around, and so everybody was making do. And I was like, I never thought about that part. And then immediately some folks in my groups jumped into, an electric car wouldn't do good here. And I'm like, what about all those gas cars that ran out of gas? Right. I know the electric car can do camp mode overnight in below freezing because I've done it.
Right.
And
yeah. So this is just the mindset of people with gas cars. They think, you're sitting there and you're idling and you're going to be burning fuel. An electric car does not idle. If you're stopped, the traction battery isn't draining. You're maybe using a little bit for heat, but so all those people in their gas cars probably when they ran out of gas and they couldn't stay warm, huddled into a Tesla and watched Netflix and chilled while they're waiting to get rescued. That's
exactly
the real thing there.
Yes,
it's funny you mentioned that. I saw a post on Facebook about the bad weather, and they pictured a supercharger with a single Tesla charging, and they said, how would you like to be in an electric car right now, charging for 8 hours and freezing your ass off?
8 hours? A supercharger? Do you know how expensive that is?
And it's like,
wow.
The only way you're going to freeze your ass off at a supercharger if you turn your heat off and roll down the windows.
Right. If you spend more than an hour and a half at a supercharger, you're spending $1 a minute. So let me say what I got spousal approval for before I do the math on that supercharger overage. So I got permission to buy an entry level snowblower, and finally got the Ego battery conversion, the big one, because we have the small one, and it was clutch, and a pole saw because the tree decided to lean on the Model X. The trash can, but the trash can wasn't playing the game, and that side of the tree broke in half. But the Model X just kind of okay.
I'll hold the tree up for you.
Yeah. And then this morning when it started to warm up and the ice started to come off of the roof, I hadn't moved the car forward because it was under a tree. And
you need a garage, my friend.
I had a garage, and it was almost clear. And then other members of the household decided it shouldn't be clear. So anyway, as the ice came down, normally no big deal. But we'd cleared the car off. We turned on the heater while we were shoveling the driveway. And this one hit bare glass. And so as the ice came down, smacked it so hard that Sentry Mode came on.
No.
My neighbors thought that the tree broke the windshield. I was like, no, I'm not worried about the windshield. Just did the back glass get broken, and it did not, thankfully.
That's
okay.
Good.
So no damage to your vehicle.
No damage.
Oh, good. All right.
Yeah.
Even though it got hit by a tree and ice.
Yes.
This will be a warning going forward. Clear the garage now. And
I will
the
attempt
entire winter.
Right, I will attempt to press that issue again. I guess tomorrow, because we got another winter storm watch coming up. So
yeah, right after the show, Casey's got some work to do. Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, it's not a surprising week in Tesla. Always news, and of course, this week we've got the end of a quarter as well as the end of the year.
Yeah,
I got the numbers. It's $390 for that 8-hour supercharger stay on top of whatever you had to pay for supercharging.
Well worth the heat.
8-hour FUD. That's just FUD.
So what we've got this week is the lead story is, of course, Tesla blows by Wall Street delivery estimates for fourth quarter, as well as we've got the numbers for the year in sales. And we had a little bet going on here at the Tesla Life. We talked a little bit about what the number would be for 2021. And according to the stats that I had written down about a year ago, the numbers were as follows. Patrick had indicated 900,000 vehicles sales. Casey had indicated 1 million, and I had gone for broke and said 1.1 million. And of course, we're playing by the Price is Right rules, so you can't go over. But it looks like Patrick was right, and he's got the shirt to prove it.
Yeah, I just had to wear this
so
one
we had sales in 2021 of 936,000 odd sales.
Yep.
Yep.
And if I remember correctly, a year ago, I even said this is about 5% below my actual number, but I want to give Tesla some headroom. So I was even closer. But yeah, Price is Right rules, closest without going over. So I'm going to go 5% below this time too.
Exactly. So we'll have to come up with some numbers by the end of the show as to what we believe 2022 is going to look like, with 2 factories being added to the mix. We believe.
New record.
We believe. Yeah, if they better open this year. Boy.
Yeah, they better.
Also, fourth quarter numbers were shown, and this is where Wall Street kind of got surprised, because if you remember, before the end of the quarter, Elon had sent out an email indicating that he wants people to be more concentrating on delivering with efficiency as opposed to no holds barred. We got to get everything out at the end of the quarter. Because, of course, that contributed to higher expenses, more delivery expenses, more overtime. It was costing the company lots of extra money to get those few extra units out the door to have them, account for a quarter that if they were to wait an extra week or two, that would just boost Q1 numbers. So thankfully, they've decided that this is a better course of action. Let's be conservative with the number we put out. Let's be efficient with how we use our resources, and that will save the company money. And really, that delay of 2 or 3 weeks isn't going to hurt us at all because it's just going to boost the next quarter. That Wall Street apparently took to heart to mean, looks like Tesla isn't going to meet their numbers that we think they should. So they really bet against it. And it turns out that Tesla still jumped ahead of their fourth quarter numbers and set another record. So again, Casey, do you have the number on the sales for the fourth quarter? The actual number?
1 second. I had it on Sunday.
305,840 units for the fourth quarter.
There you go.
That's manufactured.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So sold is a little bit more.
Yeah, a little bit more. That surprised me because their inventory was low at the end of Q3. So I expected the deliveries to be slightly below production. It was slightly above. So they, even though, like you said, they didn't want to expedite and stuff, they were still delivered in this quarter more than they produced. That's
so. I wonder if the not expediting and all the other no perks is their first step to actually finally fulfilling all these years later Elon's promise of not having quarter-end pushes.
Right.
Yeah. Hopefully that is the case, and I'm sure
it's a baby step at that.
I'm sure all the employees are cheering if that's the same case, because being put under that crunch 4 times out of the year is ridiculous, because it never ends. It's a non-ending proposition.
And it gets worse as the year goes on, because the last quarter you also have the year-end push that goes with it.
Right. Yeah. And as a long-term investor, I don't want them doing that every quarter. And if you deliver it in the last week of one quarter or the first week of the next, in the big picture, that doesn't matter. So don't rush it through. Don't expedite. Don't spend extra money for transport to rush transport. Yeah. So they're getting to a better steady state, which is awesome.
Yeah, and really, the penalty only happens once. So if you decide that I'm not going to push on this quarter, then going forward, if you just follow the same mandate, everything evens out immediately. So It's not like you're losing sales every quarter. You just pushed it over by 3 weeks into the next quarter, and then, of course, everything is normal again. So you only have to live, if there's any pain, it only has to happen once. And
you have to be strong, because if you get weak and you do it again, now you've messed it up. Now nobody knows what's happening.
Exactly.
Yep.
So very cool, though. Another record, and of course, record for the quarters, record for the end of the year numbers as well. So
we have
congratulations to Tesla and its employees as again the ceiling gets pushed higher, and as we mentioned, when you start adding new factories to the mix, that number is really going to start to go. So do you guys have a number in mind for 2022 already in your heads? Or do we want to wait until the end of the show?
They're definitely going to get their 1 million record. I don't know how much past that they're going to go, but they're going to get 1 million. Assuming that nothing happens to Berlin and Austin.
900,000 today, I gotta believe that the million is quite obtainable.
Oh, all right. Yes, so you want me to stretch? Let's do 1.5.
You're gonna do 1.5.
That's quite a stretch now.
I'm marking it down.
Oh no, Casey! I shouldn't let you go first. That's all right.
So Hockey Day's down for 1.45, and
somebody down for 2.2,
and David's down for 2.2.
So Hockey Day is 1.45, and Dave is down for 2.2. David. And I'm going to be down for 1.8.
1.8, okay. Got a narrow band again this year.
And Patrick.
Yeah. Okay, so
Patrick's going $1. I can hear it right now.
He's going for 2 million.
You're not going to be happy, Casey. I have this all written down ahead of time, and you're not going to be happy.
You have an article on it? It's okay if it's an article.
No. So if you look at the run rate right now, I think that gives a baseline of 1.2.
Okay.
And then, as we know, every year the existing factories they improve their
50%.
Well, I don't know if they're going to go that much, but let's just
historically
they've had years where it's only been 10%. They've had years where it's doubled, right? But so let's add another 100,000 for that, and then SNX deliveries, because most of last year SNX were offline. That's probably another 70,000, 80,000.
Plus SNX will be higher this year because of that. It wasn't just that it was stopped; it was a whole new car, so it's going to be a little bit extra enthusiasm
for that. Right? Yeah. So with those, that gets me up to 1.4.
Okay.
Now, look at the new factories. How much are they going to make? That is a huge wild card. That could be if they ramp up like Shanghai, it's 150,000 each. There's another 300,000. That would be 1.7. But Shanghai, as we've seen, is not easily emulated by someplace else, right?
This is true.
No place has done as well as Shanghai. So I'm going to be conservative here again because I want to give them something they can beat. And so I'm thinking that 150 that Shanghai did collectively, Austin and Germany are going to do. So from the 1.4, that gets me to 1.55.
You hear that, Mark? You hear that, Mark? If your factory comes online, he's going to throw a monkey wrench in there. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing too.
So
I think Austin will be able to come close to emulating Shanghai, but I don't see how Berlin will with the struggles they've been having for the last 2 years.
Yeah, the actual number I have written down here is 1,520,000, but I don't want to go that. That's just mean to go $1 above your number. So I'll go up to. I'll give you a 50,000 range buffer.
Okay,
but if it's
Paul also reads 1.69. Nice.
Oh yeah, 1.69 420.
There you go. All right, so the numbers are in. I'll even mark Paul's down. Paul at 1.69.
He's gonna win.
Especially if Elon has anything to do with it.
1,690,420. There's my real number.
Yes. Because even if he has nothing to do with it, that's just his luck.
Yes, yeah. That number is uncannily attached to them.
From birth.
All right. Next, let's take a look at Central Washington. Patrick's got a story.
That's right. Central Washington is not that far from the Portland area here, just a slog north, as we call that drive. So, as you know, on this show, we love to see police departments switching over to EVs, specifically to Teslas. And the Central Washington University Police Force has added a Tesla Model Y to their patrol vehicles. And for a campus police, this makes a lot of sense. You're not patrolling 400 miles, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're tooling around campus, and so they now have 9 electric vehicles, 12 hybrids in their fleet, and this Model Y is their first. Wait, the Model Y is the first EV in the police force. That doesn't make sense. They just said they had 9 electric vehicles.
Maybe it's the first production EV? Because remember, colleges have always been building EVs for like the last 40 years.
Yeah, so are the other ones golf carts, or are they...
That's possible too.
Yeah, and again, on a campus, that's not... that if that gets you from A to B, and you can, go see who's hanging in the quad, a golf cart's probably not a bad idea.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, they now have this, and I'd love to see it. They've got it. I don't know if you've got the picture there. They've got the
I just finished
guard on front there, and have it all
push
decked
bar.
out.
They get a push bar, and looks like it's ready to go, dressed up in university colors.
Yeah,
right on. Yeah.
So
well
it
done,
must be
Central Washington.
a fairly large university, I would assume. Then this is not a run-of-the-mill university to have a police force with 12 vehicles. Again, unless 11 of them are golf carts.
Yeah. Let's see if I can find any stats here.
Central Washington University.
Yeah,
so,
it says the average cost after financial aid is $15,000, but that doesn't tell me how big this school is.
Tells you how big their wallet is.
As far as universities go, that's pretty affordable.
Yeah, really.
It's true. I like that they did the beauty kit on their wheels instead of going for the hubcaps.
Yeah, they just pop those hubcaps and don't even have a center cap in this one.
They have center caps. They got little T's on them.
Oh, it looked like a hole to me. My mistake.
Low-res pictures.
10,000 students in the
10,000?
fall of 2020. Yeah.
So combine the
setting on 380 acres.
Wow.
They got some space to cover in those golf carts.
They do.
So maybe the Model Y was required. They couldn't get to campus 1 to campus 2.
So combine the lack of aero covers with the exposed light bar. It tells you what kind of speed limits they have set on that campus.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, as people know, if you have hubcaps, that matters when you're going above 50 miles an hour. Below that, the number is really questionable as to whether or not there's any gain whatsoever. I can't imagine they're driving that fast on the university campus.
Well, then there's also the matter of, if you leave the vehicle unattended and
nothing like stealing the hubcaps off a university police car.
Although extra kudos to the kid who tries it because of Sentry Mode.
Right. Yes.
They will be spending some time in the campus jail.
Unless masks are required on campus, and then hey, I just happen to be masked.
Yeah. COVID put a new spin on that. Absolutely. Well, speaking of the Model Y, that, of course, is a vehicle that has a heat pump, as well as the new Model 3 has a heat pump. And what has been reported recently is that in some cases, in extreme cold temperatures, there has been some issues reported with cars or with Teslas with heat pumps, that the heating system is not operating properly, and in some cases is not producing any or very little heat for the car. So Tesla has, of course, been alerted to this through many people that live and work in the Great Lakes region or the Northeast or Canada. But this has come out that there has been an issue with the heat pumps, and they are actively looking for a solution to fix this problem. They have, it's not all heat pumps. And of course, when we're talking extreme temperatures, we're talking minus 30, minus 35 Celsius. So it's pretty close to what it is in Fahrenheit too. When you get down lower in temperatures, they equal out about minus 40, I believe. So it's something that is concerning. They have indicated that if you are in a situation where that may happen to you, what they suggest is that you preheat the car before you leave. That will
I
allow...
suggest you move.
That's okay. With climate change, the warmer temps are coming to you, so you don't have to move. Just wait 30 years.
Right. This won't be a problem when the planet heats up.
Yeah. Patrick's
Kidding.
solution may not be financially responsible for all of us, but it's something that they want you to do is preheat the car. If you have a garage, use the garage. If you don't have a garage, preheat the car before you leave. And getting the system up and running it allows it to start to produce heat more efficiently. So what they don't want you to do is go out at minus 35 and just hit the road. They want you to do a preheat.
Have a bad day.
And allow the car to warm up and start to get the system and the heat pump running so it can be more effective.
What do they say? 30 to 60 minutes prior to your trip.
So there was a question in the chat from David. Do the heat pump models still have resistive seat warmers? And the answer is yes. People have looked at it with infrared heat guns and stuff, and you can see the lines that are in there that's resistive heat. And I have the cold weather package, so I even have heated steering wheel, which is nice.
Yeah, I love that. It's just been on since winter. The seats not necessarily, but the wheel absolutely.
Tesla will correct this. I have no doubt that this is going to be corrected. It's just that something has been wrong with the engineering at this point. Maybe they have to insert a new code into the software, and maybe they can update it just through an update. But
so heat pumps move heat, and if you have that cold, there's almost no energy there to extract. I mean, it's just that's cold.
Right. So Hockey Day brings up a point. They have been running the cars in Norway in the cold. What this is a software update. The firmware, the software update updated the firmware of the heating system, and it is no longer optimal. And from what I understand, they still have ways to generate heat, like on your heat pump on your house. You have these resistive strips, the emergency heater they call it. They have similar functionality in the car. I don't know if they use strips or if they go back to using the installing the drive motor in the rear or what the case is. But it seems that logic is what's busted. And as Mark said, they're looking into a way to fix that without doing a rollback. So
yeah, I expect a firmware update coming real soon that's going to improve this.
Yeah, because Tesla, as mentioned by Hockey Day, they've been in Norway for a tremendously long time. They've been in Canada, they've been in the Northeast United States. There's a number of places that, again, it doesn't. I would say in North America, typically, unless you live in Winterpeg, as we call it, or Winnipeg or Winterpeg, that you don't get to those temperatures all the time. This is a rare thing that happens maybe one day out of a week, and then it starts to warm up after that fact. But with climate change the way it is, we got to get this fixed so that everybody does not have to face no heat in one of these spurts of extremely cold weather.
Right, because the change is not just warming, it's not just cooling. We literally had 70-degree day before we had over 8 inches of snow.
Right. Yeah, I know you were joking when you were like climate change, warm weather is coming to you, Canada. That's not exactly. It's more. It's not just global warming. It's global.
It's
weirding.
Unpredictable weather.
Yes,
exactly.
It's more weather extremes in both directions.
Yeah, Robert William, you could do a portable heater, but seeing that your fuel is electric, I would probably go with something like an electric blanket over a ceramic heater of some sort, because the drain would be coming directly out of your range.
Yeah, exactly. All right. With that, on to our next story. We talked about this a couple months ago. Of course, the big Hertz deal that came out, that they were receiving 100,000 Model 3s as an order from Tesla. And they talked about how or when Hertz would be getting those cars. Well, apparently this week, Hertz has started to receive some of that order. Obviously, they're not receiving them all at once. This is going to be over a number of different months. But Hertz has reported at some locations that they're starting to stockpile the Model 3 at those locations. So rentals may begin. Another plus that's associated with this Hertz starting to receive vehicles is that they've indicated that they are opening it up to some Uber drivers if they wish to rent the Hertz Model 3, that they can do so. So this is something that in a number of states, some Uber drivers do. If they don't want, I guess, the pain of owning a vehicle outrun, if maybe you only want to run it as an Uber for a few weeks or a month solid and then give it back and not run Uber anymore, then maybe this is an option for you. I would certainly indicate that you should view the fine print, though. Look at what the cost is per day and such to make sure that you can certainly make that money back. But having a Model 3 as an Uber might be a plus for somebody that's currently driving a gas car for the Uber company. So I know that many people wait for an electric car to take it as a rental or a taxi or a ride share compared to others. So that might be a plus too. You never know.
There's another benefit to that is it makes it a lot easier to separate your personal and business usage of your cars and expenses if you only Uber in a rental car. But again, like Mark was saying, if that's interesting to you, you got to make sure that you can actually, have a return on that investment, because rental cars are not inexpensive by any means, especially for business. Hockey Day pointed out portable wood stoves. So there was a Kiwi that put a diesel heater in his what do they call the iMeave, the Peugeot version of the iMeave.
Okay, I don't know the name of it, but that doesn't sound like a very safe idea.
No,
diesel heater inside an electric vehicle.
Right. It was very energy efficient, but it was not, like you said. There were a lot of precautions he took, and still had a couple of interesting close calls that he.
That kind of reminds me of the movie The Martian, getting a decaying nuclear reactor to put inside the vehicle for heat.
Yeah. Right. Yes. It could kill you, but it'll keep you warm. I've told this story
as I die.
Right. The first electric vehicle I had was a Chevy S10 electric pickup, and it was made by General Motors as an electric vehicle. It had a lot of the same parts as the EV1, but in the pickup form, and a slightly larger motor. It also had a kerosene heater. It had a 1.1 gallon tank and a little kerosene heater. And as far as I know, it only came on once the entire time that I had it. And it was winter, and I was at a friend's house playing poker late into the night. And when I drove home, I was like, what is that smell? It stinks. And the kerosene heater came on. So yeah, the entire time I had it, I never had to fill the tank. So
nice.
Yeah, I had driven, 20,000 miles, and it has a 1 gallon tank. So I used to tell people I was getting 20,000 miles per gallon.
Oh man.
Oh, that's interesting. That it came with that, and you didn't know it until it had to fire up. That it was going to stink. That's interesting. And you probably would have never run into it except for that late night and that cold temperature.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, Casey's got our next story about some TeslaBot update about personality. What's that mean?
So Elon was back on Lex Friedman's show interview. He was being interviewed again by Lex Friedman, and somehow they got onto the topic of the TeslaBot.
Third time. We got to get him on here at least once. Come on.
Right. and it came up that Elon doesn't think that TeslaBot necessarily plays directly into the mission, but it's practically free organizationally to develop this thing. And he suggested that they could use it for companionship as well. Like, it could be a friend, and it might develop a personality. And I haven't seen the whole interview yet because I was studying for some stuff, and it's on my playlist.
Yeah, I watched it. It's a good interview. They Elon is nice and relaxed. They start out with joking. He's doing a little bit of singing, and it was a fun interview.
Is he a good singer?
No.
The man has a lot of talents singing.
He's got him in other areas for sure. Other categories.
Right. His other musical endeavors were. I think I liked the second song, but I didn't really The Don't Touch Your vibe was a little bit better on my ears than the Harambe song.
Lex even's got him thinking about doing a stand-up comedian set. So
Right. Yes.
all sorts of fun in the future. But with this particular thing, I thought it was kind of interesting that Elon talked about a Japanese saying of waspco, something like that, and it's how the Japanese say that you can combine both a personality and its traits along with the function of the robot, and they overlap, which gives you some quirks to the robot where it doesn't do all things perfectly, or it doesn't react in the way that you thought it might react because it's got this little quirk and personality, which makes it unique. So they talked a little bit about how this could be operated in a number of different ways, and how that would make each robot a little bit unique, and it can develop over time and develop these little quirks or unique characteristics of the robot, and that would allow it to be adhere more to the owner. So it was kind of interesting.
That sounds like the Tachikoma in Ghost in the Shell. If you gave them natural oil, they tend to start to diverge in their development, even though they were synchronized, which is interesting.
Yeah. So I think that having a friend robot with unique character traits would be kind of interesting. It'd be more interesting than every robot is exactly the same or performs exactly the same way in all circumstances. Having those little different bits of personality, I think, would be a benefit to most. Now, we're not talking that that one of its personality traits is it likes to kill people. What we're saying is that it would be just a little bit quirky in certain ways. So having robots be different, and they kind of use the analogy of R2-D2 and C-3PO. How they would bicker back and forth in the movie, and it made them more enduring to the humans around them. So that kind of thought is something that Elon had not really considered before the podcast. So it was interesting that Lex went through a few different scenarios, and Elon thought, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So that could work its way into development. Now, obviously, in the beginning, they're not looking for a companion bot. They're looking for a useful physical bot.
Right.
But going forward, companion might have a secondary ability for those bots.
Yeah, I mean, I'm comfortable with that. My car's name is Tachikoma, and it already does not behave exactly like all the other Model X's. But that might just be because it's a unicorn, not because it's not running the exact same processing procedure. But like, this thing is always talking back to me. Like this morning when I lifted up the tree to summon it back into its parking spot so it could charge, it told me no, and I about flew into a rage. Until I remembered this is a machine. Let's see why it's doing this, and it had no reason. So I opened the door, shut the door, and told it to come back in reverse again. All this with the key fob, and it did, except extra slow, just to work the nerve a little bit more.
Just to let you know it was thinking about it. Exactly. Speaking of, I guess that would be feedback that Casey got. Elon has indicated that, yes, we have received some feedback on the new UI that came out with version 11. And we've heard from a number of owners on Twitter, on Facebook. You can follow us, by the way, on Twitter at The Tesla Life, as well as our Facebook feed, The Tesla Life #1. And we have seen complaints. We have seen people being angry. We've seen people being happy. It's all across the board when it comes to opinions. And this, of course, with version 11, when things are changed dramatically, people can't find things as easily as they used to. They're not used to the new UI, so complaints come from that. And there can be interesting to see that some embrace it. I would say most don't. I would say the majority don't. You may get like a 55-45 split, but
I will say that on the legacy cars, it is mostly acceptable.
Okay.
Sorry, I had
So
to
what was
get that in there.
interesting was that at least Tesla has heard it, and Elon came back with a tweet saying many UI and additions or enhancements are coming. So
Right.
and that's not a surprise either. Tesla works their butt off to get version 11 out before the Christmas release, and of course they're going to have things that they didn't complete or that they had just enough to get it by the finish line. And now those engineers go back to start patching some of those holes or expanding in areas that weren't quite complete. So it just makes sense that there's going to be additions and modifications to version 11, as there has been with every version that we've had in the cars. It is just a natural progression of what Tesla does with software.
Yeah, and as they have it deployed, they're going to get data on what areas people are going to more, and they're going to optimize that. And the things like people were complaining that the seat heater, to get to it now, there's more clicks you have to do, except there's voice commands for that, and there's a new auto feature. So it knows what the temperature is.
If you don't have a legacy
inside and
car, you have
out.
the auto feature.
Okay, yeah, right, yes.
But
and- yeah.
mine's just worse.
Except you have the voice command. You can ask
If
for.
it can hear me, once you get to
yeah.
highway speeds, it can't always hear me.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It's not perfect.
Yeah,
But yeah,
so
so
it's
with the auto feature though, it knows the temperature inside the cabin, and so and it knows if you're sitting in the seat. So if there's somebody there and it's cold, it'll warm your butt. Yay!
Even worse is on the legacy cars, the temperature sensor, the primary one, is right next to your seats. It's right at the same level as your butt.
and all I say is remember the bacon strips.
Veggie bacon.
You press the voice command and say 2 bacon strips for the driver, and boom, your seat is on. I don't know who came up with that. That the little wavy signs look like bacon strips.
They
But,
do, especially once they're red. Especially if you're in a white seat. It's like the red with the white, it looks like bacon fat.
Yep. So
Okay,
got
you
the
said
bacon
that on the
strips
show
going.
last time, Mark, and so I got in the car and I said it, and I have my contacts are listed there, and a friend of mine is named Mike Bacon, and it texted him the word strips. Just
So it
now my friend got this text and just strips, and he has no idea why. It was a butt dial of sorts, and I was trying to warm my butt, but
it was a literal butt dial. Yeah, exactly. That's cool.
Hockey Day has a point. You know, why talk to cars and objects? I'm fine with it if they hear and if they react appropriately. But I have to call my mom by her first name, otherwise it calls other people.
And
Yes,
and no one should
indeed.
call their parents by their first names. That's just a sign of major dysfunction.
Not the way I was raised, I'll just say that.
Yeah, don't do that to her face.
I don't.
Yeah, you're not stupid.
Right. Exactly.
And
How to catch
speaking
a
of
backhand from mama.
speaking of customizations and changes, Casey's got a story for us about
Yeah.
the light show and what's happening modification-wise.
So when Tesla released this new version of the holiday show for non-legacy Model X, as well as every other car that's a non-legacy Model S, they also introduced a GitHub project where you can go through and customize the light show and the door openings and the window openings and the trunk, or if you have a new Model X, the doors like they used to be, you can, and the front doors too, and you can customize all of that through this toolkit that Tesla has released, and you can also change the song. So you can, I've seen people do the dance offs, I've seen Knight Rider, I've seen just some people change it back to the old one. Why, I don't know, but.
That seems like a waste, doesn't it?
Right, this is a long time. It's just, yeah, we've seen that before.
If you like
But,
it, you don't want to lose it.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
but what's cool is that not only can you customize the individual lights and doors, the trunks, flap for the battery, all
Mirrors.
that can be customized, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mirrors, windows, all of it. But what also can be done is you can save that to a file actually 2 files. And that then you can put onto a USB stick and you can share with others, or you can, of course, just use it yourself. But that allows you to put a few songs on different, say, USB sticks and have a library of them, of your favorite songs.
Right.
Yeah.
The coolest thing about that is I'm probably never going to download the Tesla Toolkit and do this work to synchronize it to some song. But that doesn't mean I can't go through the libraries of stuff that other people have made and just grab the ones that I think are cool.
Yes. I was hoping Tesla would make a repository, but at the same time, I'm glad that other people have done it, because now you don't have to worry about the whole having to find the song later thing, because they can just put both files up there same time, so you got the matching song to go with it.
Right. If Tesla's doing it, and then they might be distributing copyright products, music material, and that could be a problem. So.
Yeah, and if they say, "Oh, this goes with Drop It Like It's Hot," and you get the wrong version of Drop It Like you get the single instead of the album, oh man, now your lights are blinking out of sequence.
Right.
Oh, the horror.
Yes.
Right, you got to keep them together. Yeah.
Well, if the movements happen on the beat, it would lose a ton of the impact.
And if you're interested in starting with a few, there is a website that we've linked to the article below in the notes. You can go to and connect with a group that's put up about, I think there's about 24 at the last time I looked. So there are different ones available for you can download today, and use the naming conventions in the video that they walk you through, and put it on a USB drive, and boom, you're ready to plug it into your car and start enjoying.
Yeah, it's TeslaLightShare.io, but make sure you type that correctly. Tesla Light Share, one S in the middle there.
.io.
.io, not .com or .net.
Next story we're going to touch upon is, I spotted this on the weekend. There is a gentleman on, I guess it was through YouTube, that he decided he was going to do a teardown of the new projection lights. So those, of course, are the lights that project the word Tesla onto
the Matrix LED.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It happens on an object that's fairly close to the car when it's going through the light show. And what I kind of found interesting was that he actually ripped the light completely apart. Like, I'm talking, he took every clip, every screw out of that light and exposed all the individual parts. And what was really interesting was the size, of course, of the LEDs that make up the headlights, the blinker, everything. It's just amazing how small LEDs are, first off. But with the projection part.
Sorry.
Oh. But what happens is he also went into the details showing the actual projection part and the 3 different magnifying lenses that it goes through in order to project it fairly large on the outside of the vehicle so you can read it. And what I'll do is I'll just share the photo here that we have from our Twitter
While you're doing that, David, it is currently found on Performance Model 3s and Model Ys, and then some others as stock is available. It's not yet on the fleet. Does the Refresh SRX have this yet?
I don't know. That's a good question.
So what we're looking at here, these series of yellow squares, that is the actual where the word Tesla would be written by shining through a few of those pixels to spell out Tesla. And this very miniature pixelized LED is put through, as I mentioned, 3 different magnifiers for it to actually display on the outside of the car.
Yep, and its intended purpose, other than fun spelling Tesla, is in the Matrix LED headlights in Europe, and now legally, thanks to the transportation bill that got passed in the U.S., you can now have the high beams on and have it actually turn off the spot where somebody's face is going to be in oncoming traffic, so you don't blind them.
So so it's moving to avoid blinding other drivers. So having those series of pixels would allow you to move the beam around without the light having to physically turn. It just sits mounted in as it normally is. It just turns on and off the different pixels.
Yep, and you can put a hole in the other person's where the other person's face is, so they just look. To them, it looks like your low beams are on.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in a Tesla, where they have this full self-driving computer and they're doing all this analysis of the other cars and which way they're heading and all of that, it makes perfect sense that you can then put the dark spot on the person so you're not blinding them. But how do other vehicles do this?
Audi and BMW do it much the same way. But I don't know if they're looking for the person, but they just, for the whole windshield, they'll just skip it.
Right, so that means they're going to have to detect the other cars and their windshield, and then do this. So yeah, there certainly are automatic high beams today, but that's just turning them off. It's not selectively deciding which pixels to turn off.
And this is how these same headlights would work in the U.S. Prior to a couple of weeks ago, because it was illegal for them to operate any other way. They just turned them all off.
Yes, they were right. Interesting. Yeah, this is cool tech. And
only 50 years after they got rid of Tucker, we finally got rid of the law that got rid of him.
Yeah, exactly. Tucker was the original one that said just make the round headlight just turn a little bit based on the car steering wheel.
Yeah.
So it could follow the road and not blind a driver. It's following the road instead of just shining off the road as the car's turning. So
if Tucker had worked for Ford or GM and somehow managed to get them over the 3 cents it cost to put it in, we would still have this to this day. But this is also, the opposition was the same people who gave us one red bulb that does everything in the back of the car.
Right.
And fought seatbelts for a long time.
Yes.
And seatbelts are really something that most drivers don't require.
That was the argument.
Terrible. Well, so that's kind of interesting. We'll see if that innovation continues or gets modified. Speaking of innovations, Patrick's got our next story about something else that's heated.
Oh, yeah. So we have a winter theme going in today's show. So this comes to us from Drive Tesla Canada. They might know something about cold weather up there in Canada. Heated wipers coming soon to the Tesla Model 3/Y in China. So until now,
we've seen stuff start in China and work its way across the globe. So
exactly, yes, yeah. There's especially we were just talking about how these cars are huge in Norway, right? So the Model 3 and Y, this is definitely going to be something that goes worldwide. Maybe it's a cold weather package that's optional, and this feature. The article here I want to point out has something incorrect. It said this used to be exclusive to the Model S. No. It's been in the Model X since they started shipping the Model X as an option. Mm-hmm. So S and X.
Okay. I loved it on my S, and then when I started looking at the X, it was not going to be considered without it.
Right. Yeah.
Because it used to be optional on the X and the S.
Right. Yep. It was optional when I got it, and I go skiing, and I take the Model X up there, and it's great. There's a charging station in Sandy, Oregon, which is about halfway to the mountain for me. I stopped there for 10 or 15 minutes. That gets me enough to go for the whole day and even get home. So just one supercharging trip for the stop for the day. And that way, when I'm all full up and when I'm parked there, when I am heading back to the car, I can just turn on the preheat. And the cool thing is that it says it has wiper heating. Well, what it really does is it just heats that part of the windshield where the wipers rest.
Yeah, and so wiper landing zone, as Honda calls it.
Yes, yeah, and that landing zone is one of the things I used to do with my other vehicles was I would turn off the wipers when they were up, and then I would pull them off the windshield. But with the Tesla vehicle, they tuck down behind, and so you can't really do that, and that's for aerodynamics. So being able to preheat and have it warm that spot solves that problem for me. So now I don't have to stick my wipers up in the air where they could then get covered in ice and then slam down and break my windshield. I just let preheating handle all of that for me. And it's great. So
I used it yesterday or this morning, yesterday for this morning when we cleared the driveway and the car. that helicopter windshield on the X pushed it all down into the crevice between the hood and the windshield wipers, and so now the windshield wipers are stuck. And so it further heated that side, and then they were able to move again.
Right. Yep. Yeah. Preheating.
So really, the wipers
is an
aren't
awesome
heated.
feature.
It's the section of the window where the wipers rest is what's heated.
Yeah,
Right.
and that makes a lot of sense. If you had to have that wiring going into there, and then the wipers are moving all the time, it's going to be a fault point. And this is a nice, easy way to do that and solve the problem in a dependable way. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, if you lose a wiper, all of a sudden you shorted out the something and started a fire. But on the Model X, the windshield washer nozzles are actually inside the wiper blades. So it's not like the Model 3 where it's at the end of the wiper arm and it shoots at the back of the blade or whatever. It's actually all the way through this channel that oozes water perfectly where it needs to be. Which is cool.
Yep, it is.
But it stinks in that you can only get your wipers from Tesla because Bosch won't sell them directly to us, even though they made it.
I did not know that.
A wiper blade is $380.
No, it's only $80 for both sets, or for both pieces.
Okay, so it's not insane.
It's not insane, it's just high. And as David said, another example is with the trunk wire with the solid core. It is moving too much and it broke. No camera.
Yeah, in some cases, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's another recall that's going to hit 300,000 vehicles, but they say only about 1% of the vehicles are affected. So it's not like it's not like it's that large of a recall. It's just that 1% of that amount is what they believe is affected by this pinching of the coax cable.
I like the way that the recall agency said, well, you can look over your shoulder to mitigate this in the meantime while you wait on your fix.
Right. If your camera goes out, that's what you should do. Yes.
And it does mean that you're no longer compliant with the law because these newer cars have to have a camera. But they're saying it's not as catastrophic as it could be because this has worked for centuries.
Yeah, it's worked in the past for a long time.
Right.
So,
use your mirrors and look over your shoulder.
Yeah.
The more pressing one to me was the secondary trunk latch on the Model S frunk not being aligned in some cars where it could fly up. I was in a rental car when I was working at the rental car agency, driving a car from our place that had been wrecked to the airport so it could get picked up, and the wind caught the hood, ripped it through our little makeshift situation, and it didn't just go up. It came all the way back and smashed the window, and I couldn't see it.
Oh, wow.
I was driving like this under the little gap underneath the arc where the hood comes back to the body.
You're driving for long like that.
A mile.
Oh, man. Stick your head out the window.
Right. And it's flapping all the while because then now the wind has changed.
Oh, wow.
Not a situation you'd want to be in for sure.
No. So I mean, that's a very serious recall. Thankfully, it's
not that bad because I believe it's the secondary.
Right, that's what I was getting at. It's the secondary latch. Yeah.
And of course, when you're driving, you can't release the trunk anyways.
Right. So what this would have to have, you'd have to have your primary fail and the hood come up.
Yeah.
And so it's what I'm saying is it's more serious than the camera, but it's not a likely event.
Right.
In fact, it hasn't happened yet to anybody.
Scenario. Yeah.
Right.
Not a likely
and then on top of all that, before any of this goes wrong, you would first also have to have the secondary latch be misaligned. So mobile service can come by and they can look at your hook, and if they only see one bite mark, they can adjust it so you have two bite marks.
Yeah.
Right.
So not a real big deal, regardless. But.
It was a wrecked rental car hockey day.
Yeah.
I didn't wreck it. Somebody else did. I had to get it to the pickup spot.
I can't believe you drove another mile. I would have. If that happens, I'm pulling over. I'm done.
That's because he was in the fast lane. He had to make it all the way over to the slow lane and then the breakdown lane.
Well, I didn't want to get a fee for leaving a car in the airport driveway.
No, I think they might have understood that the windshield was smashed and you only had this much to see through. I think so.
That's worse than the guy driving with the Starlink dish on his.
I only turn left.
See it.
Doesn't that obstruct your view? Only the right side, officer.
Thank you, David.
Well, with that, let's wrap her up this week. Patrick, anything coming out on the carswithcords.net?
Yes, thank you for asking. Cardswithcords.net. I just wrote a piece on green abundance. So I read a lot of eco articles. I'm into that lifestyle, and there was one. I've seen this idea over and over again, and I was just like, enough! This is ridiculous. And it was an older LA Times article that was getting recirculated called "Surviving Climate Change Means Ending Fossil Fuels." That's not great. And then it said, prepare yourself for sacrifices. And I'm like, no, 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 no. You can actually move to new tech, to a better way, and have a better life. You can have more abundance. We can have more energy than we have today by moving to newer solutions. And so I detailed that and how I think that could play out, and why we should be. If you have a movement that depends on people making significant personal sacrifice, that is going to die faster than a New Year's resolution. So come on, let's not even try that. That's ridiculous. There's some people, and if you're into fire, a lot of that is the financial independence, retire early. You live a minimalist lifestyle so you can save a lot, and every dollar that you cut out of your life is not only one more you can save, it's one less you'll need when you're retired. So that's great. If you want to do that stuff, I'm not saying you can't, but if you're asking the majority of people to do that kind of thing, it's never going to fly. So anyway, that's my latest article and rant on that.
Yeah, well, then you've got extreme fire, which I mean, if you thought fire was hard, so there'll probably be less people with that. But another good example of all of this is this traffic jam, where they were saying, "Oh, all the people who ran out of gas." Well, when you think about it, if the person has a place to charge at home, assuming they're not in a multi-dwelling structure, they are almost always fully charged to whatever their level is when they leave home.
Yes, you leave your house with a full tank, unlike a gas vehicle where you're filling it up once a week.
Worse than once a week. You and your spouse are constantly just putting off to fill up at the last possible minute. Oh, I'll do it tomorrow. The light's been on for 2 days. Oh, now I'm stuck in a 19-hour traffic jam. The light's been on for 2 days. What do I do?
Yeah.
Nothing. You're done.
Yeah.
Whereas if you forget to plug in your EV, you've still got another day or 2 or 3, or depending on what your usage case was. You could forget a couple times in a lot of people's cases.
Right, and it's not a hassle because it's right there in your garage for most people. It's right there where you park it overnight anyway, so just plug it in. It takes 2 seconds.
Yep. A key life hack is to make sure that the plug, where the plug hangs and where the plug goes in, is on your path into the door. So what I do is I reverse into when my garage is empty, I reverse into it, and the hook is right there next to the tail light, and boop, and then I go in the garage door. It's done.
Right. Yeah.
So right now it's on the other side of the garage, at the front of the door, and I pull it off the wall, and then I pop it in the taillight, and I walk in the door.
Exactly.
Yep. So my final note here: you can live a life free from fossil fuels, and it can be a better life than the one you have with them.
A future, you might say.
Yes. Yeah. A future for our planet and the next generation. It could be great.
Yes.
Free from fossil fuels. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Casey, what do you got going on the channel this coming week?
So I don't know if I mentioned it last time or not, but I did the Tesla destination charger overview and interview over at Palmer House Inn. That's over on my channel at youtube.com/Casey Green. That's right here, KaceyGreen. And then I've got a couple of other items that I've filmed and not edited. And then I got a special accessory treat that has finally arrived from China with the correct condition. So those of you that know, but those of you that don't know, we're in for a surprise. Yeah.
I want to know. I don't know.
Looking forward to that.
Absolutely.
If you haven't already, please give us a thumbs up at this point. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. It's free. It's not going to get any cheaper. I can guarantee that. So join us, help out the channel, support it. And we appreciate you watching this week. And join us next week. And together we will find out what is going on in the Tesla life. Also,
if you're enjoying or not enjoying, either way, if you now have a space in your new Tesla UI for the podcast app, the TuneIn, we're in it. So take a look on for the Tesla Life show in your Tesla TuneIn app. And I forgot to load the music, so I'm sorry, Lee Moon, but
but we appreciate Lee anyways.
That's
Absolutely.
right.
Good
Hey,
night,
We
everybody,
got you on the intro. Good night, everybody.
stay
Have
positive.
yourselves a great week.
Test negative.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody. We got David and Paul
Robert.
and Robert. Yes.